Hey, today we're walking around a Cleaver Brooks boiler. This is a Scotch Marine fire tube boiler. It's a high pressure boiler. Carries a steam load of about 190 psi. So the boiler, as the burner is on, is evaporating water into steam. So naturally we have to replenish that water in the boiler. As it makes steam, the water level goes down. So what we have on the boiler is what we call a sight glass, and we're going to come up and look at it right up here. This is where the boiler operator checks the water level. And you can see the sight glass there. Well, I like to tell people, check the water level in the boiler more often than you check your cell phone. To protect the boiler from a low water condition, just to the left there of the sight glass is a low water fuel cutoff. It's a ball and float assembly that as the boiler is evaporating water into steam, the float goes down and it calls for water to come into the boiler. The water enters the boiler through what we call a feed water line. The feed water line is right here. It's this pipe going into the boiler. The green fitting there that you see is what we call a check valve. And the boiler is going through the check valve into the boiler at the bottom to maintain the proper water level. As we boil water, some of the things in the water are sludge and contaminants, and you probably heard blowdown. This is the bottom blowdown valves in the boiler. When it's not running very hard, we call it light load. We open these valves and get rid of some of the sludge and the sediment to what we call a bottom blowdown. It goes into a flash tank and cools down. When the boiler is running, through this little window here on the back of the boiler, we can look at the fire. And you can see this is a pretty good sized boiler. There's the top of the boiler, main stop valves. Coming around the other side of the boiler, we're going to get a look at what we call the fuel train. And this is where the gas comes into the boiler. So it burns natural gas. It's your regular natural gas supplier. It comes through a series of valves and controls. And it comes along through here, working its way up to the burner. Again, this is the fuel train. There's pressure switches on there. There's stop valves. And as it comes up to the front of the boiler here, we can see the main gas valve. Main gas line is coming in, and it's coming up, and this is the front of the burner. When the burner is ready to start, this piece of equipment here is called the ignition transformer. Large black box right there. It sends voltage to this, the igniter, to light the pilot light. Once the pilot light is lit, this piece here is called the flame scanner. It verifies it's a pilot light, and it tells the controller up here, I've got a pilot light. When that happens, then the main gas valves back there on the fuel train will slowly open, and the boiler starts on what we call low fire. And it will run and maintain the steam pressure. Normally this boiler stays on, the burner doesn't shut off. Some come on and shut off, cycle on and off. But this one stays running. It's a production boiler. There's another one right next to it, and this one is down for inspection. So with steam boilers, the state of Minnesota requires that you open them up once a year, and we look at what we call the water side, where the water hangs out. So you can see up here, it's opened up, and there's the ball and float, the low water cutoff. You can see that little ball there. If you will, it kind of resembles a float in a toilet tank. We like to look in here, this little boiler cross T lets us see the water side of the boiler. And when the burner's running, the hot gases go through the furnace, and they come back through these what we call fire tubes. This is a tube sheet. All of those holes represent long tubes. They're fire tubes. They're probably 20 feet long. And as the flame goes through the furnace, at the rear tube sheet, there's one just like this in the back of the boiler, the hot gases make a U-turn, come through these tubes back to the front of the boiler. The tubes are all surrounded by water. So this is what we call a heating surface, where water's on one side and hot gas is on the other. It's so hot that it boils the water, and the water goes up in the top to leave the boiler as steam. It leaves the boiler as steam. It's this large white pipe right there. You can see it says steam on it. That's the main header, or what we call the main steam line distribution pipe, and it sends it out into the building for whatever process they're going to use. So we have a trail. Water comes into the building with our water softeners. So we soften the water a little bit. Then, because we want to add hot water to the boiler, we have this apparatus here called a deaerator. A deaerator heats the water, removes the air and condensate from it, so that we can feed hot water to the boiler. So there's some pumps down below. They pump it over to this big tank up here called a high pressure receiver. We'll get another look at it. There's our high pressure receiver up above the catwalk. From there, the water is pumped into the boiler. It's going to be hot water, oxygen and carbon dioxide have been removed in the deaerator, and then it's pumped into the boiler. It comes right here. On this boiler, we have a check valve. Right here's the check valve, and the stop valve, and then this is where the water would go in. So this boiler is down for inspection, while the other boiler is running the load. Once a year, we're required to inspect the boilers. Here you can see the gas line is shut off. We have a lockout, tagout process going on. There's an access ladder take you up to the top of the boiler where the main steam stop valves and the safety valves are. Here's the back of the boiler. And this is the fire side. If you were able to see in there, it's a big long furnace tube. And when it's running, that's where the flame is. And after the flame, the hot gases travel through those fire tubes and work their way out the chimney. So that is the extent of these fire tube boilers. One is online, this one is running, producing steam, and this one is shut down for its annual inspection. These are high pressure, gas fired, steam producing fire tube boilers.